Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hope is Not a Tactic with me, your host, Lieutenant Joe Pangaro. So, right now, what I want to talk about is a skill that every member of your staff should have, and that is de escalation skills. Right. So, when we talk about violent events like an active shooter, you're not going to spend a lot of time talking with an active shooter. Right. Active shooters come in and they do what they're going to do. And we have other tactics to help us survive that. But anything less than that, someone starting to act up, a parent out of control, someone who wanders into the building. Maybe you have students who are having problems or a staff member having a problem and they're starting to get violent. They're starting to amp up where it could be dangerous. So this is where the skill set of de-escalation is going to help you. So I am a FBI trained hostage crisis negotiator. I did that for many years when I was in law enforcement, and it was something that I enjoyed. I was good at it because I understood the concepts of how people think when someone's in crisis. What can we do when they're in crisis to help them calm down? How do we get them out of that? At least to the point until we can get some help, or you can get them out of the building, or you can otherwise secure the building because we want to make sure we protect everybody as best as we can. So the idea of de-escalation, who is it for? Well, think about who in your facility, whether you're a warehouse, a religious facility, or a school, who may come in contact with someone who's in crisis or potentially violent. Well, that would be everybody on your staff, from administrators to custodians and everybody in between, teachers. Anybody that's part of your staff should be trained. So I provide this training. We do it here online. We also do it. We do it as a webinars, and I do it in person in lots of places. So if you're interested, you can reach out and contact us, and we can do it for you, a webinar or whatever. But here's where it's important. The idea of de-escalation is to understand someone who's in crisis and what's motivating them, what's moving them to do what they're doing. How can you recognize that? Because that's one of the key things, right? Because time equals life, right? The sooner you can recognize that someone is not just having a bad day, but that they are in crisis and potentially dangerous, then you have a better chance of preventing injuries to anyone in the building. All right, so this is a short version. This is a quick version. I'm going to give you a couple of things to try and understand, and then you can expand on it. Take the class. I'll probably write a book on it, and I'll put it out there. Speaking of that, we have sponsors here. Blue 360 Media is the greatest law enforcement publisher of everything law enforcement. Blue360media.com is their website. You should go check that out. And also, Medical Essential Diagnostics is a company that was created to save your life. So if you live in the state of New Jersey, because right now it's only in New Jersey, if you live in New Jersey and you work for the state in any capacity, state, local town, municipality, county, anybody that's a state government worker, you can go to Medical Essential Diagnostics. You and two family members can go there and get a full health screening at no cost to you. They don't like when I say free, but it's at no cost to you because you put down whatever insurance your family has. Doesn't matter. You put that down. Anything that's not covered by your insurance, the Medical Essential Diagnostics group, they pick it up. They pick up the difference. They're a 501c3. People donate to make sure people can get the health care they need. So if you have you and two family members over 18 can go and get a full screening at no cost to you. So those are our two sponsors, Blue 360 Media and Medical Essential Diagnostics. They are very, very helpful to everybody, especially in the space that we're all in. All right, so de-escalation. When someone is having some kind of a crisis, and that's what we're going to use. We're going to use that term, they're in crisis, whether it's a mental crisis, a physical crisis, an emotional crisis, something is going on with them where they could act out in a violent way. Now, we don't always understand, but normally there is a trigger event. That means this could be building up for a while. Say a student is bullied and they're bullied on a regular basis, and you have tried to step in and do the right thing, and the child does not see relief. And that's the key to bullying. We do a whole program on bullying. But a lot of our schools say, oh, we have a great program for anti-bullying. Well, if the victim doesn't feel relief, then you've done nothing. right? And a lot of times we go through all the processes, we check the boxes, we do what we're supposed to do, but the child that's being bullied does not feel relief, and therefore that pressure keeps building up. So let's just take that as an example. A child who's bullied constantly. You can start to see in the things that they say and the things that they do that you can see there's some kind of discomfort there, and you could see maybe they start to snap, maybe they write things, maybe they draw things, all right, that are concerning to you. So the whole idea is we start to see these things coming. Now the student comes to school one day, maybe they're having a problem at home too, right? Maybe they're having difficulties at home. Not everybody has a great home life. So now you have all of these things building up in this student, whatever it is. This is an example, right? And that student now comes to school and there's a triggering event. Now, the event could have been triggered at home. Maybe dad said, hey, if you fail another test, I'm taking your Nintendo away, or whatever it is they're playing with today. And then the kid fails a test and dad takes it away, and that's the last straw. Now the child is on edge, very upset. They come to school and somebody says something to them they don't like, and they start to go off. Maybe they start screaming, hollering, they're throwing things, and now it becomes a crisis, right, for you in the school. So it doesn't matter the reason that the person is on edge. The bottom line is that there's a trigger event, something that sets off the next potential for violence, and we start to see it. We recognize it. We see it coming. It happens. There was a large school district, as an example. There was a large school district in New Jersey here, and they had a policy of no water bottles were allowed to be brought into the school. They had kids bringing vodka and stuff in, so they said no more water bottles. If you want a water bottle, you buy it in the school. So this young lady, who was a good student, had a very troubled family, but she was a very good student. And she's coming up to the screening, because they do have screening at this school to screen the kids as they come in. And the security officer there, who knew this young lady, sees she has a water bottle and says, listen, you can't bring the water bottle in, you know that, just throw it in the can. And what he didn't know was that she had had a very serious problem at home. Her home life, like I said, was really difficult. And there was a big family crisis, and there was some abuse going on. And now she comes in, and this security officer, doing the right thing, says, you got to dump the bottle of water. You can't have it. She says, listen, I'm just really thirsty today. I just want to take my water with me. And he says, no, you can't have it. You have to put it in there. Well, she throws the bottle at him and starts screaming and hollering, because that was the trigger event. It wasn't about the bottle of water. It was one last straw, and she went off, right? So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Doesn't matter what it is. You can all have examples in your place, and that's the idea, to recognize that there's a potential problem and then react to it. So first thing we need to understand is that people who are in crisis like this, they are not thinking clearly. So reasoning with them usually does not work. Where a calm person, you might say, hey, listen, I know you're upset about the bottle of water. Just sorry, you can't have it. That's the policy, and you know you can't have the bottle of water. Get one inside. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm just having a bad day. And they throw the bottle of water and they go in. That's a normal reaction. When someone continues to behave in a way that's potentially dangerous, or you can see it escalating, that's when you have to say to yourself, okay, this is not a normal interaction. This is problematic, and therefore I have to do some different things. So recognizing the crisis before it bites you is very important. All right, so what quick techniques can I give you to tell you how to deal with someone who is in that crisis? First of all, knowing that they're not thinking clearly. Sometimes the things that we say can amp up a person. Knock it off. Stop that. Calm down. Well, when someone is in crisis, those kind of words can actually trigger further behavior, because they are at their wits' end. This is too much, whatever it is, and now they're acting out. So you got to keep in mind, saying things like that, giving somebody a specific order to calm down or to stop it can be problematic. So don't do that. Instead, you could say things like, boy, you seem really upset today. Boy, you seem really aggravated today. Boy, you seem really angry today, right? So this is what we call the echo technique and emotional labeling. All right, so write that down. Echo technique, emotional labeling. What that means is, very simply, is if you hear an emotion, you repeat it back to the person. Because what we know about human psychology is that when people have a thought in their head and you identify it by saying something like, boy, you sound really sad, and they are sad, they will respond to it in most cases, and that gets them talking. So you want to think about someone who's in crisis as a red balloon, and as that crisis builds, the balloon expands. And what happens when the balloon expands too far? It pops, and right, and that's when we have violence. So our job is to de-escalate or help them vent that balloon down so that it's manageable. So you want to keep that picture in your head. Right? So when you use emotional labeling and the echo technique, that means you listen, and when you hear an emotion, you repeat it back, you echo it to the person, because that will often get their attention and they will talk. So while in an active shooter, time equals life, when someone's in crisis, talking equals life. All right. So you have somebody and you see that they're having a problem, and they will let you know that you're not on the right track. If you say, boy, you seem sad. I'm not sad. It's ridiculous. Well, what emotion do we hear there? Boy, you sound angry. I am angry. They wouldn't let me bring my water bottle in here today, and all I want to do was drink water. It was hot today and I wanted my water. Boy, you sound really frustrated. I am frustrated. This is such a stupid rule. Right? You see how it works? You get the idea? You identify the emotion and then you repeat it back to them. So if you say, boy, you sound sad, and they say, I'm not sad, it's because you didn't hit the emotion. So then what else could it be? Could it be sad, mad, glad, angry, frustrated, jealous, whatever it is? You say the emotion, and that will often have the person react to you and start talking. All right, so that's the emotional labeling and the echo technique. Very, very important. I hope you wrote that down. The other thing that you might see is a person who is writing or drawing things, right? Writings and drawings. And we're going to go into that in a separate episode. But if you see people that are writing, journaling, and they're journaling scary things, we have to understand, a lot of times when kids go from being little kids to young adults, the world opens up to them. And suddenly they realize it's not just mom and dad in the whole world, but then there's friends who have problems. People get hurt. They get killed in car accidents. If they live in a violent neighborhood, maybe somebody gets shot, right? There's all these kind of things going on. And the kid starts to see the bigger world, and they might journal about it to express how they're feeling. Well, you have to read those journals. You have to read those drawings, those social media posts. We have to pay attention to those things because those are expressions. And if we see somebody expressing a goth story, G-O-T-H, a goth story, that might seem scary, but it doesn't mean they're going to be violent. What we look for is first person violence. If they're journaling about them doing something violent, attacking other people, getting revenge, getting at the bully or whatever, that's something to be concerned about. That's potentially violent, and we need to intervene and find out what's going on. All right. So when it comes to de-escalation, the quick story here is you have to recognize that it's not a regular day. It's not just a bad day. They're in crisis and they are potentially violent. You want to listen to the words that they're saying. Listen to the words you're saying. Don't give orders on how people should feel, because that's not going to work and that can amp them up. And then remember emotional labeling and the echo technique. If you hear an emotion, repeat it back and vent that person down. Talking equals life. All right, so this was a short session, but if you're interested, you can certainly reach out, and we do webinars, we do online training, we do in-person training on de-escalation. It's very, very important, and every member of your staff should be trained. All right, this is Lieutenant Joe for Hope is Not a Tactic. Be safe, be secure out there, and let's be empowered and make the schools and our businesses great places to be.